يدركه بهد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا عجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالصخور ميدان أرض ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى. صدق الله العلي العظيم. The first of our salawat in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Sayyidat al-Nisa al-Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa. The second of our salawat in honor of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam and Imam Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. With the loudest of your voices, the last of our salawat in honor of the reappearance of Imam Zaman alayhi salam. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you're all aware, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us another opportunity to mourn Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. A lot of people don't understand how important this is. From Nabiullah Adam alayhi salam to Nabiullah Khatam alayhi salam, all of the prophets have mourned Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. And you might be wondering, how did Hazrat Adam mourn Abu Abdullah? Imam Husayn alayhi salam came so many years after Hazrat Adam. He came so many years after Hazrat Ibrahim, after Hazrat Nuh. How did they mourn? You have to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had already told each and every one of these prophets what would happen. Inshallah, later on, we'll look at some of these narrations from Sadiq ala Muhammad alayhi salam and Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, where they say, for example, Nabiullah Ishaq, for example, Nabiullah Ayub, for example, all of these prophets, they were given the story of what would happen to Nabiullah, to Abu Abdullah, especially Nabiullah Zakaria. Especially Nabiullah Zakaria. And he was given a son by the name of Hazrat Yahya. Why was he given that son? Inshallah, we'll look into it. But what I want to talk about tonight is only focus on Imam Husayn alayhi salam and see what we get from his life. The thing that we Shias tend to do is we look at Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam's life, not in whole, but we look at the last portion of his life, the last 1 year of his life, and we understand Imam Husayn alayhi salam from that last 1 year. When in reality, no, if you want to look and understand the Imam, you look and understand the Imam from his birth all the way to his Shahadat. You look at what type of character this person had. You look at what this individual left for us, not just to recite on the days of Muharam and then go back home. No, that was never the objective of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. The objective of Imam Husayn alayhi salam was first and foremost what? It was first and foremost to bring a revolution within this soul, so there could be a revolution out here. First and foremost, to bring a revolution within the nafs, so then there could be a revolution out here. What do I mean? If every single individual fought against this nafs that continually brought them down, what would happen to society? Automatically it would be better. Why? Because society is made up of single individuals. If every individual focused on themselves and made themselves better, then society itself would thrive. That's what Imam Husayn alayhi salam wanted. If you look at the reason Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam rose, what was it for? He himself, he says that I don't want people to think that I'm rising against Yazid lamplale because I want power. No, I'm rising. Why? Amr bil Maruf and Nahyan al Munkar. Amr bil Maruf and Nahyan al Munkar. What is this Amr bil Maruf? What is this Nahyan al Munkar? Is this Amr bil Maruf the enjoining of good in this sense? Is it Salat? Is it Sawm? Is it Zakat? Is it Hajj? Is it all of these? Or no, does it have a different meaning also? When you look at what was happening at that time. When Imam Hussein was rising, did people not pray? They prayed. Did people not go to Hajj? They went to Hajj. Were they not giving zakat? For God's sakes, right after the Holy Prophet left this world, there were whole wars because of zakat. People were giving zakat. So what is this Amr bil Ma'ruf that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam stood up for? What is this Nahy anil Munkar that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam stood? Yes, that's absolutely true. That there's a Zahiri Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar, and there's a Batini Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar. The Zahiri Amr bil Ma'ruf, Salat, Saum, Hajj, Zakat, all of this. But when you look at the narrations of what the Batini Amr bil Ma'ruf is, the Aima alayhim salam, they say that the Batini meaning of Amr bil Ma'ruf is the wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. It's the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. There was already prayer, that was all of that. What had people forgotten? People were forgetting that the true successor of the Holy Prophet was Imam Ali alayhi salam. That's what people were forgetting. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the rise of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the sermons of Lady Zainab Salat, what were they reminding the people of? They were reminding the people of what happened to their father. If you look at the sermons of how the Muslim Ummah together, collectively, took away the right of Amir al-Mu'mineen. But when you look at the life of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, born when? 3rd of Shaban. Martyred when? 10th of Muharam. 4 years after Hijrah, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam was born. 4 years after Hijrah. And when you look at the narrations, they state that when Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam came to this world, the Holy Prophet was not at home. Just the same way for Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he just happened not to be at home. When he came back, he got the good news. He asked Amir al-Mu'mineen the same way he asked him in the birth of Imam Hassan, Ya Adi, what have you named him? Ya Rasulullah, I have not named him. I would never name him. I would never dare to name him before you. And I will never dare to name him before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fact that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam was named by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it should tell you that this individual is not the same as everyone else in the community. This individual is not the same as everyone else in the community. No, he's different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself is naming him. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is naming him, it tells you that this individual will have a burden on his shoulders. He will carry a huge burden. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is naming him. When the Holy Prophet asks, Jibreel comes down, he says, Ya Rasulullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends his salam. And he's named this son the same name that was given to who? The successor of Nabiullah Musa alayhi salam, Harun. The name that was given to his second son, Shabir, that is the name that we've given this son. Ya Jibreel, what is the name in Arabic? Ya Rasulullah, the name in Arabic would be Hussein. What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala trying to teach people here? Amir al-Mu'mineen could have named him. The Holy Prophet could have named him. But they let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the name Hussein, do you know what it means? Hussein and Hassan, they come from the same root. Hassan, it just means smaller, or Hussein just means the smaller Hassan. In the Arabic, if you take the word Hassan and you conjugate it, one of the forms that will come is Hussein. And that form, for example, Rajul, if you conjugate it, the form comes in Rujail. Rujail means a smaller man, smaller. Hussein is the name of that individual that is what? The smaller Hassan. Hassan is the name of that individual that is the bigger Hussein. That's it. Some people, they have this gripe with Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Why didn't he rise up? No, he wasn't meant to rise up. Inshallah, some other time we'll look into why he didn't rise up. They have this, they act as if they know better than the Imam of what he should have done. But in reality, the Imam knows better when to stand, when to sit. When to stand, when to sit. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he came to this world. When he came to this world, Aima, she sees a dream. And in that dream, she sees that there's a part of the Holy Prophet that is thrown into her house. And she didn't go to sleep that night. She starts crying the whole night. When she starts crying the whole night, the next morning her neighbor goes and complains to the Holy Prophet, and she says, Ya Rasulullah, Ayman never slept the whole night last night. She was crying the whole night. Ayman, she used to be the servant of either the mother of the Holy Prophet or the father of the Holy Prophet. And after the father and mother passed away, she went to Abdul Muttalib. Abdul Muttalib, she was with Abdul Muttalib taking care of the Holy Prophet. So Ayman, she comes to the Holy Prophet and she says, Ya Rasulullah, I saw a very frightful dream. That's the reason I was crying. What was the dream that you saw? The dream I saw was that there was a part of you, a body part, it was thrown into my house. The Holy Prophet says, Ayman, there's nothing for you to fear. There's nothing for you to cry about. The interpretation of that dream, I know, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows better than anyone. The interpretation of that dream is that soon there will be a child born to my daughter Fatima, and you're the one who's going to bring him to me. He will be in your house, you will bring him to me. That child is a part of me. Look at the narrations that the Holy Prophet has and the way he speaks about Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. That Imam Hussein alayhi salam is a part of me. Lady Zahra is a part of me. Hassan is a part of me. Ali is a part of me. All of these individuals, they're a part of the Holy Prophet. You tell me, when I get hurt in one part, do I not feel it in my whole body? Yes. If these individuals are parts of the Holy Prophet, if one of them's hurt, then that means the whole body, meaning the Holy Prophet ﷺ, is hurt. That means the whole body is hurt. The Holy Prophet gives Umayma this good news. But one of the things that he does, that he didn't do for Imam Hassan alayhi salam, is that when he named him, the Holy Prophet, he starts to cry. When he starts to cry, the people in the house, they ask the Holy Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, why are you crying? This is a happy occasion. The Holy Prophet, he says, the reason I'm crying is why? Because Jibreel had just come down and he told me that this ummah is going to martyr this grandson of mine. This ummah is going to martyr this grandson of mine. Do you understand why we cry even, for example, the 3rd of Shaban? Do you understand why for the Eids, the two great Eids that we have in Islam, that one of the ziyarat that is highly recommended to recite is the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam? Why? Because it's a testament to what? To how Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam left a mark in these hearts. It's a testament. 1400 years have passed. Until today, people are remembering Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam for what he did. Even after we leave this world, until the Day of Judgment, people will remember and feel what Imam Hussein alayhi salam did. Every year, this is one of the miracles of Ashur. This is one of the miracles of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Is that every year, the Shias of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam, they gather and they cry for Imam Hussein alayhi salam as if he's passed away just yesterday. Even though it's been 1400 years. But they cry as if he's left us just yesterday. A miracle of Imam. You don't see that with anyone else. Look at the other religions. They say that Nabiullah Isa, he was martyred on the cross. Yet they don't mourn for him. They don't mourn for him. You see the other prophets. It's just not in Islam where it says that the other prophets, they were martyred. No. Even in Christianity, other prophets were martyred. Even in Judaism, other prophets were martyred. Yet they do not cry the same way we cry about Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is a testament to the effect that Imam Hussein alayhi salam left on our souls. You see, 1400 years later, when we say Hussein, we say alayhi salam. When we say Yazid, we say Lanatullah alayh. Why? Because of the upbringing of both of those individuals. Upbringing. Why do I say this? Because living in the West, yes, it has great effects, but at the same time, when it comes to the soul, there's a lot of detriment. There's a lot of detriment. If you're not on your guard, there's a lot of detriment. Meaning what? In the West, the world is in front of you. The world is in front of you. Islam, it says what? Islam, it says keep on your guard. Keep your guard up. This is what, inshallah, one of the lectures will be about muttaqi. What does it mean to be muttaqi? Because Karbala now is not just a latitude and a longitude. Karbala is not the name of that city that's in Iraq. No. Karbala is a university that everyone can learn from. So, if a child wants to learn lessons, they get it from Karbala. If an adolescent wants to learn lessons, they get it from Karbala. If an adult wants to learn lessons, they'll get it from Karbala. If an elderly wants to learn lessons, they'll get it from Karbala. You look at Karbala, you see that anyone from a 6-month-old to someone that was over 90 years old, they gave their life for who? Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam. So there's something for everyone to learn from Karbala. If you want to know, for example, how an imam should be, you look at Karbala. You look at Imam Hussein al-Islam. If you want to know how a leader should be, you look at him. When I say imam, I'm just meaning it in the sense of leader. I'm not looking at it in the sense of the meaning of imamat from a Shia perspective. Inshallah, some other time we'll talk about it. But in just the sense of leader, where the majority of Muslims, they look at imam just to be leader. Even if it means just to be leader. Would you want a leader of like Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam who stands against tyranny? Or would you want a leader like Yazid who is engrossed in tyranny? You look at today, the world is run by tyranny. The only people who are standing up against that are those people that say, Ya Hussein. The only people that are standing up against that are the people that say, Ya Hussein. Doesn't matter where they are. Doesn't matter who it's happening to. But it's only them that say, no, we don't stand for this. Why? Because they have a leader like Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam. You see the effect of Imam Hussein al-Islam even today. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And Imam Hussein al-Islam, it's not as if in the last year of his life he was ready to give his life for the sake of Islam. No. From the day he came to this world to the day he left this world, he was ready to give his life. You see incidents, for example, in the life of Imam Hussein al-Islam. He was in the battles of Siffin. He was in the battle of Jamal. He was in the battle of Nahrawan. He was in these battles. If it was physical battles you're looking for, Imam Hussein al-Islam, he was in these physical battles. No, if it was intellectual battles, or if it was battles that had to do with other religions, you look at Mubahila, Imam Hussein al-Islam is there at the age of 4 or 5. From a very young age. And this is something all the parents need to understand. All the parents need to understand this. You teach your kids about Islam at a young age. Do not wait until they're 14. Do not wait until they're 15 and then start bringing them to these majalis. No. You teach them you bring them at a young age. Why? So they get used to it. So they get used to this atmosphere. The same way they're getting used to the Western atmosphere out in the schools 5 days a week. You bring them to these massages so they'll get used to the Islamic atmosphere, if not 5 days a week, at least 1 day a week. At least 2 days a week. So they understand and they see, you know what, there's a difference between what Islam is saying and there's a difference between what I'm being taught at school. And these majalis, in these ayyam of Muharam, these are the places where we learn the durus, the lessons of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. This is where you learn these lessons. And we'll go over these lessons, inshallah, in these next 10, 12 nights. Each and every single one of these lessons, because all of these lessons are important. If you want to be a companion of Imam Zaman alayhi salam, can you be a companion of Imam Zaman alayhi salam without being a muttaqi? Can you be a companion of Imam Zaman alayhi salam without knowing what tawbah is? Can you be a companion of Imam Zaman alayhi salam if you do not know how to do dua properly? Can you be a companion of Imam Zaman alayhi salam if you're not ready to give? Forget giving up your soul. That's after you become a muttaqi. Can you become a companion of Imam Zaman alayhi salam if you're not ready to give up the minor sins that you and I are committing, let alone the major sins. If we're not able or we're not willing to give up these sins, then it's difficult for us to say, yes, we're ready to give our life for Imam Zaman alayhi salam. It's very difficult. This is why it becomes necessary that these lessons that you learn in Muharram, you don't just leave them here and then walk out. It becomes necessary that you take them with you, you apply them, and you use them every single day of your life. You apply them to yourself. And this is exactly what all the Imams did. The laws of Islam, they applied to themselves first before they applied to others. The knowledge that they had, they applied to themselves first before they applied to others. And this is what we Shias need to do. The knowledge that we learn, we need to first and foremost apply it to ourselves. When it comes to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, one of the things that he was known for is his generosity. Generosity. How generous was Imam Hussein alayhi salam? Do you all know? His ibadat, yes. Ibadat is something personal for every individual. The narrations, they say that 1,000 units of prayers every day. You and I are not there yet. We can get there with practice, yes. But there's some things that's easier for us to do. Generosity, for example. There's a story where Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and their cousin, they're going for Hajj. On their way, the qafila that were going with, the group that they were going with, it went ahead. And they stayed a little behind. When they're behind, they got to a remote place and there was no houses, there was only one Bedouin tent, that was it. They get there and they see that the man of the house is not there. The elderly lady, she's there. They ask her, you know what, we're going to Hajj, our caravan has left us and we're very hungry. Do you have anything to eat? The lady, she says to them that, I just have one goat. I just have one goat. You three are men. If you want to slaughter it, you can slaughter it. I'll make meat, I'll make kebabs out of it, and you're more than welcome to eat it. The narration states that they slaughtered it, she made the kebabs, they ate, and before they ate, Imam Hassan alayhi salam and Imam Hussein alayhi salam, each one of them, they tell the lady that we are from Medina. If you ever come to Medina, ask the people about us. Imam Hassan gives his name, Imam Hussein gives his name, the cousin gives his name. She didn't think too much of it. The man, he comes back later that evening and he sees that the goat is not there. And he asks what happened to the goat, and she tells them that these three gentlemen, they came and they had nothing to eat, so I told them to slaughter the goat, and they slaughtered it and I gave it to them. The man, he gets very angry and he says to her, this was the only thing that we had. This was the only thing that we had. Now we don't even have this because of you. Do you not see what you've done? It just so happened that that year, there was a drought. And because of that drought, these two individuals, they end up going to Medina. When they went to Medina, what were they doing? They couldn't find any work. What they were doing was they were cleaning the dung in front of all the stalls. When they were cleaning the dung in front of the stalls, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he happened to pass by and he recognized the woman. When he recognized the woman, he asked her and he tells her, did I not tell you when you come to Medina to come and see me? She goes, I don't remember who you are. And he says that last year we were going to Hajj. We stopped by your place. You gave us the meat. And she goes, oh yes, I remember. I told you to come to my house. My servant, he'll bring you to my house. The servant, he brings her to Imam Hassan's place. Imam Hassan alayhi salam, what does he do? He tells her that because of what you did, here's 3,000 dirham, 3,000 goats, and go to my brother Hussein alayhi salam and get whatever he gives you. She goes to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And when she goes to Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam, Imam Hussein alayhi salam asks her, what did my brother Hassan give you? And she says that he gave me 3,000 goats and he gave me 3,000 dirham. And he goes, here's 3,000 goats from me, here's 3,000 dirhams from me. Where is one goat? Where is 3,000? Where is one goat? Where is 3,000? This is Imam Hassan alayhi salam. This is Imam Hussein alayhi salam. When it comes to, When it came to donation, giving in this for the sake of charity, there was a year when Imam Hussein al-Islam, there was money that came to him. Every single dirham that he had, he gave it in charity. He gave it in charity. Whereas us, when it comes to giving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's very difficult to reach into our pockets and give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's very easy, it's extraordinarily easy to reach into our pockets and use it for something frivolous. It's very difficult for us to help our mu'minah brothers and sisters for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we reach into our pockets, if they ask and we reach into our pockets, the smallest bill we take out and we give. For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when it comes to just using it on frivolous stuff, we have no accounting for. Look at the way Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam lived his life, and look at the way you and I are living our life. If it's not matched, I'm not saying it has to match perfectly. No. In order for it to match perfectly, you have to have a father like Amir al-Mu'mineen, you have to have a mother like Fatima al-Zahra. I'm not saying that it has to match perfectly. No. Because it's very difficult. You won't even be able to reach that status. But that doesn't mean that we can't follow their footsteps. That's what we say. To follow in their footsteps. No, you cannot be like them, but follow in their footsteps. Learn from them. Apply from their life. One of the problems that I see coming within Shia Islam too, instead of looking at the Ahlul Bayt as examples, we're looking at who? Parents that we see on TV as examples. Families that we see on TV, we're taking them as examples. We're learning more from them than we are from the Ahlul Bayt. No, that's not what it's supposed to be. The only reason that we're doing this is because we're ignorant of the lessons of the Ahlul Bayt. We're ignorant of the lessons of the Ahlul Bayt. If you look at the Imams themselves, they focus so much on education. From the time that they were youngsters, Amir al-Mu'mineen Lady Zahra, they let Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein go to the mosque with Amir al-Mu'mineen. They went to the mosque with Amir al-Mu'mineen. They learned from where? Amir al-Mu'mineen. They learned from where? Lady Zahra. They learned from where? The Holy Prophet. And then they came back and they applied that. And this is where we lack. The question is, how do we apply what we learn? That's the real question. Even in school, this is a question that gets asked. How do you apply what you learn? Whether, it doesn't matter what subject you're talking about. How do you apply it? 1, 2, everything that you learn, is it applicable? No. Because there's something that's theory, there's something that is practical. What's practical is what can be applied. What's theory is not really applied. What's theory is kept in the brain for you to, what? Use as a step to further that knowledge. What's theory? When it comes to Imam Hussein al-Islam, he gave us theory, he gave us practicality. If you want to look at sacrifice, we have no further to go other than Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam. The ultimate sacrifice. The ultimate sacrifice is not family members. The ultimate sacrifice is the soul. Giving up this soul. Imam Hussein al-Islam, he sacrificed his life. Why? Just so we can do Ya Hussein? No. That's not why he sacrificed his life. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam sacrificed his life so we can bring about a change within ourselves. And if we don't bring about that change, and we stay the way we are, then tomorrow when Imam Zaman appears, we will be like those 20,000 Kufins that wrote letters to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam. Ya Hussein, we're in need of Imam. Ya Hussein, we're in need of Imam. When the time came, where were those 20,000 Kufans? Today, 200 million Shias, correct? 200 million, 250 million Shias. What are they all saying? Labbaik ya. But in regards to the Imam of our time, are they not calling out for the Imam Zaman? Yes, they are. But are you truly ready for when Imam Zaman appears? Are you truly ready? Imam Zaman alayhi salam himself, he says, when the amal of the Shias are brought to me every Thursday, I cry seeing some of the amal of the Shias. I cry. How would it be if tomorrow when Imam Zaman appears, he looks at us and he says, you know what? It was you that made me cry. It was you that made me cry. This is why it's important for us to start changing the way we are. Thursday nights, or at least once a week, Dua Kumail is read. And there are phrases in that dua where you say, Ya Allah, forgive me of those sins that have turned ni'mat, the blessings, into what? Omens. Ya Allah, forgive me of those sins that tear apart what? That tear apart this natural blockade that you've given me in regards to keeping away of sins. This natural act of, I don't want to use the word infallibility, but this natural act that you've given me that tells me that yes, this is a sin and I should stay away from. Are we staying away from those? Do we even know what those sins are that we're staying away from? You look at Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he teaches you this. You look at Karbala, one of the lessons that you learn, the salat is so important. This salat, brothers and sisters, you have to remember that this salat, it differentiates between someone who truly is an abd from someone who is arrogant. This salat, it differentiates between someone who truly believes themselves to be an abd, a slave, a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and someone who truly is arrogant. Because why? Someone who's arrogant would never bow down. Would never bow down. You look at Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. The fact that he was bowing down, the fact that he was in a stage of sajda when the enemies took his life, tells you what? That this man was truly a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What did Imam Hussein alayhi salam rise for? What was his most famous saying that even today a lot of the Shias use? Hayhat minna zillah.